Welcome, welcome. Welcome to the Embrace the Skin You're In Stories of Strength, hosted by the Now Included community. Hello, my name is Rosemary Sherrod, and I'm the Digital Community Engagement Specialist here at Now Included. And Now Included is a digital health platform, and we empower and educate communities of color to make informed health decisions. We have several health related community circles that you can join and connect with like minded people with similar health experiences. One is the Hair and Skin Health Circle, Now Included. It provides the information you need to keep your skin healthy and what conditions that can affect the Black community the most. And we'll drop that link in the chat in just a few for those of you who would like to join that community. So right now, if you're joining, and listen, go ahead and just drop the city that you're joining from in the chat. And I have two amazing people that I'm just very excited tonight for you to meet. The two very special people here with me today who are making a positive impact within the community. The name is Tawana and Dorisha, and I'll let them introduce themselves. Hey, Tawana. Hey, Dorisha.
Hi, how's it
Listen,
going?
I'll let you all introduce yourself. Tawana, you go ahead.
Hi, my name is Tawana and I live in Maryland. I'm a senior program manager for an e-commerce organization, and I've been a patient diagnosed with Prurigo Nodularis for just under 3 years. So looking forward to having this conversation with you all, sharing my story, and getting to know Dorisha in the process. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. Dorisha?
Hi guys, my name is Darisha. I am an ICU travel nurse. I've been diagnosed with PN for a very long time. Mine's actually started in 2016, so since then. Okay, and I'm excited to tell you guys my story and meeting Tawana today.
Thank you so much, Dorisha and Tawana, for introducing yourselves. Listen, Dorisha has already shared her story on our Now Included platform, and we'll share that link in the chat for you all to watch more of her story. She has an amazing, powerful story of strength. And so, both of you mentioned that you were diagnosed with prurigo nodularis. Um, if you would just explain a little bit, what is prurigo nodularis, each of you?
I'll take that question
Yeah,
actually.
sure.
Um, and I'm going to get a little medical. I'm not a medical professional. I'm just a patient who has been surviving through this.
Yeah.
But prurigo nodularis is a rare skin condition that exhibits itself on your body and presents itself on your body through these hard nodules. They could be either pink or red, the color of your skin, dark brownish, almost turning black all over your body in various areas. It's different patient to patient. And the most critical symptom that I'd like to point out, and I'm sure Dorisha has had the same experience, is it exhibits itself with intense, intense, intense itching, like relentless, unbearable itching, not chicken pox itching, but itching that sometimes you can't find any relief for. So that's just a little bit of what prurigo nodularis is in a nutshell.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that, Tawana, because I know just a few people that I've spoken to, in the hair skin health community or just the general community, they've never heard of prurigo nodularis, or some people call it PN. So thank you so much for explaining that. And if both of you would just share a little bit about your personal experiences with PN.
Sure. You want to go, Dorisha?
Okay, I'll go. For me, my personal experience with PN was the whole point of mine is because it was like right after high school. You know how you're ready to become an adult. So this is like your icebreaker to like introducing yourself to the world, being an adult, because we all pray for it. Well, not no more because I got too much bills. But before I was like so excited, and then out of nowhere, they actually started on my literally the night, like 2 weeks prior to me going to prom. I didn't even go to prom because the way my dress was altered, my whole arms was out, and who was gonna go to prom like that? So I end up missing prom. So it started on my hands, And I'm like, okay, what is this? You know how when you notice something, but your skin is usually always clear? Like I
Yeah.
was that girl in high school, like you couldn't tell me nothing. Like, what's a pimple? I did not have those, okay, in high school.
Yeah.
So when I finally started getting on my arm, I'm like, okay, maybe it's heat bumps because I would get heat bumps. So I didn't really pay attention to it. It was when I first started college, I was like, okay, it literally in a blink of an eye, it went from my hands to my whole bilateral, whole arms, whole legs, full back. Okay, so this is like it took over my whole body. And the thing is that what was frustrating is that you're going to these dermatologists and they can't tell you what it is. You know
Mm.
how you'll go to the hospital with a
Yeah.
infection, you're like, okay, I got antibiotics for you. You going with a cut, okay, let's sew it up. You know, like they couldn't tell me nothing. Then when you another thing that was frustrating is that you're getting to these dermatologists and you're like, it's itching, it's itching, it's itching, and they look at you with a straight face, stop itching. I cannot like what do you are you serious? You're a doctor,
Mm-hmm.
you're an MD. You are well aware that neurotransmitters we're not
Yeah.
able to control them. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not like I can tell myself just stop itching. And these itching, like Tawana said, this not no regular just itchy,
No.
itchy itch. I had knives and scissors. I
Man.
still have scars from the knife,
Mm.
okay, to itch my skin. Okay. So it was frustrating not getting the help. And then everything you're trying, you go to natural remedies. Everybody like, oh, just change how you eat. Okay. You change how you eat. Nothing. It just became frustrating. Um, me no longer being able to be the person I was.
Yeah.
And so on, I'll give you a chance to chip
Yeah.
in.
It's for those of you who don't know, I'm really almost kind of meeting Dorisha. I've met her a few times, but we really haven't shared the full length of our stories together. So it's really personal to hear how you've dealt with this because we have a lot of similarities and we've had some differences. I first got the first symptoms for myself as a full adult. So you did this as a teenager. So I can only imagine the mental anguish you went through at that time. It was a pivotal time in your life. For me, it was right after COVID. Well, COVID was actually still taking place, and it started September 2021. And I just started scratching, like scratching profusely, like relentless scratching that I didn't understand what it was coming from. About a week later, all of these like nodules and spots and blemishes just appeared. Now, for me, they only appeared on the fronts of my legs, all over my back, and on my arms. They didn't appear on my face, my chest, my hand, well, maybe a few on my hands. But for the most part, it was in areas that I was lucky enough that if I was dressed, you wouldn't even know I had PN. But the scratching and the itching and the presentation of the nodules was evident. And it was really unbearable, and I didn't know what it was. And this is the part where we do have similarities, Tarisha. I went to my PCP who said, I don't know what this is. Let me send you to the dermatology department. I spoke and met with several dermatologists, and they did not know what was wrong with me. They couldn't figure it out. And so you said something so key that really tapped into me was, okay, well, what can I do about scratching? How can I stop scratching? I don't want to scratch, but it's unbearable. And I was given a little bit more. They did give me like some topical creams and things like that, but it would do a temporary relief. And then maybe an hour or two later, I'm scratching again. So that itch was unbearable to me. And so I went to several doctors, several dermatologists who referred me to another dermatologist who referred me to another dermatologist. And then finally, I got a dermatologist who is one of the renowned itch doctors. And I'm lucky enough because being in Maryland, I'm not far from Baltimore where Johns Hopkins is. I was lucky. But literally, until I got to him, 11 months later, did I find out that I had this thing called Prurigo Nodularis. And all I could say to myself was, Jigga, what? What is that? I don't know what this is. I don't understand what this is. But like you said, Dorisha, we couldn't figure out how to solve the problem until we had a solution. And so there was but so much that they can do when they don't know what it is. And that's what made it so hard for me that first year of having PN is since we didn't know what it was, we didn't know how to treat it. So that was a really hard time, not just physically, But that mental anguish that you go through, and and we're dealing with COVID, where if you sneeze too hard, people were looking at you funny. Could you imagine being in public and scratching all over over yourself? And I did the same thing as you did, Derisha. If it was a wall, a cup, I don't know, remote, I used anything near me to scratch because it wasn't topical on the top of your skin. You wanted to scratch to a point where you wanted to dig deep into your body because that's how severe the itching was. So it was a very difficult time for me as well. And I'm sorry that it had presented for you at such a pivotal time in your life.
Yeah, it was. And the thing about it, because the nodules, as you know, they're like, so if anyone doesn't know, these bumps are not just like some, you probably thinking like, oh my God, it's just bumps. These are like, just imagine a tree bark, okay? Like something like my background.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bump with a hard crust on it. Like my mom, we would take the blade, like a little blade, and you can literally cut the tip of it off, literally, like you're shaving a tree bark. So I just want you to have like a visual, okay, of how these nodules are. And then, yes, so I did actually try some steroids, but just remember, steroids, too much steroids
It's
are
not good.
toxic. So for me, I was getting into like an overdose phase. So instead of it like helping, it was causing more harm to me. So I had to stop it. Then
Yeah.
listen to imagine. So you could literally have like a game like crisscross. I mean, like 20 people could just be on my body connecting the dots. Okay. So just imagine I found one dermatologist. Mind you, I went to dermatologists here in Miami, West Palm Beach, Boynton Beach, Orlando, Tampa, everywhere you can think of. I even went out of the country to my homeland in Haiti for treatment. So we went
Wow.
to find treatment. I found one dermatologist. This man was taking the corticosteroids and he was injecting each nodule every week
Inside the nodules?
with a needle inside every week too. So it would be him and his assistant PA just sitting around and just injecting as much as they can every appointment. So just imagine, okay, it was.
And did you have, like I had this at some point, and as you're explaining about the bark,
Mhm.
it would be the equivalent to like the layman to say these huge scabs all over your body. So the nodules would appear, and then for me a scab would be created on top of it, and then sometimes the scabs would fall off and bleed. Like
Yes.
this is how severe it was for me as well. So they would literally bleed, and then you couldn't scratch them, but they were still itching. At that point, I could not scratch it because it was now bleeding. The skin is an open wound. I had to sometimes wrap myself in like medical gauze and band-aids just to cover and keep it clean so that it didn't get infected. But the itching never stopped, even though I'm going through this process of these. And you know, we call them nodules, but they literally were scabs.
Yeah.
They were literally scabs, and they were huge scabs. And sometimes they normally circular, but they could also be a little oblong. So it would look like someone just like scratched me across my legs, and then that becomes a scab, and then that scab falls off and it tries to heal. And it's just an ongoing, repetitive process. It was so difficult to deal with. It was so difficult to deal with.
Yep, and it's like now I'm thinking about it. It's like because now I have the healthcare background, so now I'm a little more aware. But just imagine back then, all these open nodules. I could have been prone to infection. Infection could have led to sepsis. I could have died. Like
100%.
and not only just the health aspect mentally, So I wanted to ask, like, did it affect how you dress or anything for you?
It affected my life in so many ways. That's a great question. It affected me to the point, I'm short and I'm a little thicky. I like to have my little legs out. I like to be cute. I don't wear my legs out anymore. I wear pants, leggings, and if I do wear a skirt or a dress, it's a maxi down to my ankles. And I'm not even that tall. So, it affects the way that I dress. It affects my daily life. It affects my vacation life. I'm a beach bum. I love a beach. Now it took me several years because the pandemic had hit. This took place right at the tail end when we were just like getting vaccinated and things like that. So I wasn't going to the beach and I wasn't going to public places because I'm also a bona fide self-certified germaphobe. So I thought it was almost a remnant of the COVID, like a new symptom of the COVID at one point. So I don't go to the beach. So it's changed that. And when I finally started going to the beach, I only go to the beach if I can wear, those sheer pants that you put over your bathing suit. I won't wear my legs out. So can you imagine being out at the beach and I mean in the water and everything? I keep the pants on in the water. So it's affected that. And it's also affected dating. It's a conversation. When you decide to get into an intimate relationship with someone, they're going to see this and they need to, rightfully so, they're going to ask questions. So having those uncomfortable conversations is another way that it completely changes the way that you deal with this every day. So
Yeah.
those are just a few ways. For you, was it a change for you?
So mind you, remember I was just coming out of high school. In high school,
Right.
like that, like I had so many friends, and the girls who ain't like me, they was just haters. But I had a lot of friends. So I had a lot of friends. I was always going out partying. I always had the little shorts, the crop tops back then.
That's right.
I went from being that girl, full of life, always laughing, to like this girl who was like in the ball. So I live in Miami. So just imagine, you would never catch me without a jean jacket. I wore jean jackets so much. I have like an imprint in my arm
Yeah, I believe you.
from wearing jackets so much in the heat. Okay. People like, girl, take that jacket off. You're not hot. I'm like, girl, oh yeah, I'm hot. Yes, I'm hot.
Same thing.
Just like every time you go to the stores and like people in this world are just so mean. And the thing
Yes.
is that you don't know that I don't have nobody. Everybody in my family has beautiful skin, clear skin, not a pimple in sight. So the same way I woke up with it, you can wake up with it too. So we need to sometimes consider we don't have to be so mean all the time. Like they
Yeah.
look at you like you some type of a zombie off of Walking Dead, and it's like at least hide it, like walk out
Right.
the door, and then you could talk, but right in my face. So it came to a point where I did not go outside. You couldn't
And
pay me.
that's a key thing that you just mentioned is the kindness of people. You had a situation where you were just coming out of high school, these big events, your prom and all this good stuff. And then I was coming from COVID. Now I understand that people were very sensitive around COVID. But what I want people to also learn about this is not a contagious disease. It's not a communicative disease. You can't get PN from being near me. You can't get PN from being near Dorisha. However, it does run a little more rampant in the Black community. So it could be anybody. If you have underlying diseases, and you from a medical perspective, share, tell me if you have underlying other diseases, high blood pressure type, other things like that, you could be more susceptible to it. So like Dorisha said, be kind to people. You may not know why they're scratching. You may not know why all these things are presenting all over their body. But if it really bothers you, it's easier to just walk away. You don't always have to look at them like, what do you, and then I know what you mean. If I'm at a restaurant and I'm scratching because I can't help it, I'm quite sure it makes someone feel uncomfortable. But if you feel uncomfortable watching me, how do you think I feel doing it? I feel worse than you do. You're just looking at me do it. So how do you think it makes me feel? So I think that is a very good point that we need to make is be kind to people. And if it bothers you that much, you can also walk away.
Yeah, and the thing with everybody, they're just so I wouldn't say I don't like to use the word ignorant. I would like to say they're not educated
Right.
to realize that no one wants to do certain things because they want to. Sometimes
Right.
we have no control over the things that we do sometimes. And, some misconceptions, like you said, is that, oh, it's contagious. Like it was, I had a cousin actually had a newborn baby. Oh my God, I'll never forget this. I cried. She would not let me hold her baby.
Oh my goodness, because she felt like maybe it was a contagious situation.
And then, like, so when she came to my grandma's house with the baby, my grandma had the baby. As soon as I took the baby, she's like, oh, give me the baby. Like, she didn't even try to hide it. She was just like,
Wow.
give me the
Did
baby. Give me the
she have a clear understanding of what your condition was? Had you had conversations with your family about it?
I couldn't. How can I have conversations about something I don't know about? So that's
Oh, this was during the time when you weren't diagnosed yet.
I wasn't diagnosed. So all of
Got
this
it.
prior, well, after I've been diagnosed, you couldn't tell me nothing. Like I knew what I had. I was, that's why I don't let some right now in my mental state. Because back then, when it
I
comes
was
to
about
mental,
to ask you about that.
I was depressed. I would not leave the house. I would not do anything. And then what made it worse is like seeing my mom cry, because she can't help me. A mother always feel like their child should be able to go for them and help. But my mom couldn't help me. She didn't know what to do.
I know, I could only
Um,
imagine.
she she would like try to get me out of the house. I would not want to go nowhere.
I didn't want to go anywhere either.
I became obese, like morbidly obese, like just because all I would do is sit in the house,
Right.
watch Walking Dead, and eat, literally. And
Walking
eat.
Dead is good. Yeah, but that's a point that you make that I think we both touched upon, is that people don't realize it's not just a medical, physical, condition that we're going through. There's a mental aspect to this. And I know that, I've been a germaphobe for a long time. So when COVID came, you didn't see Tawana. Tawana didn't walk into a grocery store for like 18 months.
Mhm.
I didn't walk into a pharmacy. Everything was drop delivered to my door because I didn't want to be around humans. So imagine now towards September 2021, where we're just starting to comfortably get out of COVID, this thing happens to a germaphobe after a pandemic. My lack of mental health was through the roof. I was so depressed. So I know exactly what you're talking about. And when you go through that period of not knowing what it is, that is one of the toughest phases that you go through, because of, look at the situation you just had with your family member. Oh, don't touch my baby. Oh, I don't want you near anybody. I don't want you to come. Do you know what that does to a person? How that makes a person feel? So people need to recognize, especially even in the medical field, when they are assessing what this thing is, what this condition is, they need to also pay attention to the mental health aspect. Because if you are not okay mentally, or you're not coping well mentally, your body reacts to all of that. Your body reacts. So when you think about the day when you're stressed, you get headaches, you don't feel good, your stomach hurts. So not having yourself be in a very strong mental state doesn't help the disease either. It doesn't help us get better. So I'm sorry you had to deal with that. I think I've had some looks, but I've never had to deal with a family member not wanting to be near me or have their kids near me because of it. So that's deep.
It was just very bad. And like when it came to mental, it came to a point where I didn't want to seek treatment. Like I was like, this is just my new life. I was over. Because just imagine, everywhere you go into doctors, dermatologists, like these are
Constantly.
people for over 12 years, and they can't tell me what it is. Like at this point, why am I still going for me to, as soon as I walk in, I'm like, okay, God, maybe I'll find a treatment, and then boom, I don't know what that is, Darisha. I cannot help you. I'm gonna send you somewhere else. I was just tired of, I'm gonna send you somewhere. I'm gonna refer you to a specialist. And then when you get to the specialist, they don't know what they're doing. They don't know what it is. So
You feel like they weren't really trying to help you, or they just wanted to pass you over?
I think okay, when it comes to physicians, some like dermatologists, especially the ones who feel like they know so much, when they get to seeing certain type of things that they can't diagnose, they misdiagnose you.
Right.
So I've got bed bugs. I've I've got
I
that.
haven't heard that one. Yeah, I can see why.
Bugs, and I'm like, I have never seen a bed bug in my life. Now I have, because I'm a nurse and people come in without, but I have never seen a bed bug in my life. So for you to come and tell me it's a bed bug, it's like, sir, no, this is not a bed bug. This is not bed bugs. I've never been around bed bugs. I don't know how bed bugs look. And then you'll have the ones who's like, oh, these are just like eczema. Eczema, shows itself in different forms. Subdermal.
Extreme eczema. Yeah.
I'm
Mhm.
But then when I'm Googling these things, I don't see nothing that looks like me. No
Same
one that
thing.
looks like me. So this can't be what you're telling me it is.
Right. And I think about all of the labs that they sent me for multiple times. I remember the first dermatologist was like, I'm not sure what this is. He didn't misdiagnose me, but he didn't know what it was. But he did say to me, I don't think this is eczema. There's something else going on, but I'm not sure. Let's run some tests. Let's see if we can figure out what's going on. Can you imagine? I was sent for tests for lymphoma, hepatitis, HIV. They thought they were lesions to AIDS. So all the tests came back negative. He was like, I don't know what this is. I'm going to take you to the next level dermatologist. He did the same thing. He assessed everything. He sent me again. He was like, I don't know. I think I want to send you again for HIV. I was like, first of all, in these damn COVID streets, ain't nothing going on but the rent. However, I could understand. I still wanted to know what it was. I was tested over and over again. They wanted to send me to an oncologist. They thought I had skin cancer.
Me too. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So could you imagine what I was thinking with my brain? Okay, so I'm sitting back at home waiting for you to tell me whether or not I have HIV, whether or not I have cancer, whether or not I have lymphoma. I was scared out of my. They almost thought I had leukemia at one point.
Mhm.
like adult leukemia. It's frightening to have a condition that is so rarely diagnosed properly that you don't know what to do in the interim of not knowing what you have.
Yeah.
It's it's scary and life-changing.
Very. Yes, it is. And I wanted to ask you, like, when you see, like, for me, I had like my mom, my sisters. Did you have like any support system around at least?
Great question. When I first noticed the nodules, it was the first time I'd seen my mother in 19 months after
Mhm.
COVID.
Okay.
And I had come out the shower and I was drying my back, and my mother saw my back and she was like, what is that on your back? I didn't even know that I had all of that on my back. I know my back itched a lot, but there are also, I don't know if this happens to you, there are also areas on your body that don't have nodules but still itch. Because
Mhm.
it's almost like it's in your blood. It's like my scalp itched, but I have none in my scalp. But I say all that to say the first time I realized some of the symptoms I had, I was lucky enough to have my mother there with me, who doesn't live here. She lives in North Carolina. She had come to visit me for the first time after COVID. And ever since, I've been sharing with my family what's going on with me, and they have been incredibly supportive. I am lucky I do have them. I don't have any of them physically here in Maryland with me. They're
Okay.
all, in different parts of the country.
Yeah.
But, just checking in to see if I'm okay makes a big difference, making sure that, hey, how's your PN been? Like they don't fully understand it, but they care enough to try to figure it out. And that support means everything. It
Yeah.
means everything. I know you had your mom. Did you have any other support factors? Because I know I'm also trying to get more involved in community outreach and things like that to build more of a support system for myself as well as share for others. But do you have anyone outside of your mother who supports you?
Well, right prior, I had just my mom and my sisters because I was not open enough, and that's why I would like to say, if
Mm,
you're dealing with something, don't keep it into yourself.
yeah.
Take the load off. Have people support you and help you, because without my mom, like at this point, when they did tell me, oh, maybe a skin cancer, I was like, okay, cancer, I'm ready for you to take me out. Like,
Look,
I'm ready for you to take me out at this point because I couldn't deal with it no more mentally. And right now, and like you said, for dating, I'm thankful to have someone now that doesn't judge me. Even prior to seeing like the pictures I've dealt with, um, he doesn't judge me. He doesn't make me feel a type of way. But
beautiful.
before I could even open myself to dating again, it's like, okay, what he's gonna think, like when he see me with like without, because I'm always covered up. So when he sees my skin, what is he gonna think? So after I'm
Right.
talking, a boy would try to talk to me, I'm running. Like I do not want to talk. I do not want to say nothing to you. So it was like it
Because
took
you know you're going to have that conversation.
that I'm not ready to have. I'm not ready for something
Yes.
to judge
What
me
is this? Yeah.
based off something I can't control. So it took a toll. Like, so for now, are you like open to try to
Honey, absolutely.
okay.
Bring them on.
Are you letting it limit you? Like, do you
It did for a while. I think I
okay.
felt a lot like you. I think the biggest part for me, I guess, that made it just slightly different, the lack of dating was a lot because I was remote and I was, quarantined off from people. And even after people were going out in the streets, I wasn't. So
Okay.
it's hard to meet somebody when you're still in the house. You have online dating apps and things like that. But I really wasn't putting myself out there like that because it took me a lot longer to be comfortable with being around people than the average person. But mentally, it took a toll for a while, but now I'm 100% open because I feel like, especially, I know I'm a little older than you, but I really feel like, especially at this age, if I'm going to meet a man at my age who is not mature enough to have
Mhm.
the conversation with me and accept me as I am, then I don't need him. And that's okay.
That's
You
right.
know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, I wouldn't want to invite anyone into my space who didn't have the level of maturity to say, "Oh my gosh, I'm sorry you're going through this."
Mhm.
It shouldn't make me any less of a person. Either I'm a good person or I'm not.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't want someone who would solely just not want to be with me just because of what I look like.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
I have a question. So when you were diagnosed, when
Yes.
you finally got a name, Prurigo Nodularis, how did it make you feel?
I will tell you exactly how I felt. My doctor actually walked in and he asked me if he would mind if he brought a team of doctors in with me.
Mhm.
I was like, what am I about to die tomorrow? Like, what is happening here? So that scared the living daylights out of me. But he was training some fellow medical students, and I thought to myself, well, how are they going to learn? You know what I mean? If they don't become a part of the conversation. So just the dramatics of them walking in, he came in and he said, Tawana, I've looked at all your labs, all of the previous doctor's notes. I've looked at your blood work, and you do not have cancer. You do all of the other tests have come back negative, but after looking at some of the blood cultures and things like that, we finally figured out what you have. You have a rare skin disease called Prurigo Nodularis. Soon as he said that, I didn't hear anything else he said. It was like Charlie, what's that? Charlie Brown's teacher, wonk, wonk, wonk. I heard white noise because after 11 months of dealing with this thing that I didn't know what it was, I couldn't even receive the additional information he was giving me because all I kept saying to myself was, it has a name. What I have has a name. I remember getting very emotional. I'm feeling it right now. But I remember almost crying because I was sitting here like, this man gave my condition a name. And like I said before, because we didn't know what it was, everything that they tried to treat me was a toss up. You didn't know if it was going to work. The topicals, you didn't know if it was going to work. They gave me some orals. You didn't know if it was going to work because they didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
So finally, now we have a name. Now we can make a plan.
Yes.
So I was elated, but I promise you, I literally went back to him and was like, yeah, doctor, I'm going to need you to repeat all the words you just said because I was in another state of
Mhm.
being so happy that I finally have a name to what this condition is.
Yeah, I felt the same. For me, actually, they did a biopsy. So finally, okay, after a dozen of dermatologists, this one, because my story was a little crazy-ish. So one day my mom ended up just like bleeding out her eye, like from a movie, things you see in a movie.
Like the
And
vampires?
listen, like I wish I could bring my mom
Wow.
in the call. Her eye literally just start bleeding. Okay, so I live in Miami, so there's this eye institution. Okay, Boston Palmer. Okay, in Miami. So the ambulance came. We ended up rushing her there. While I was there, and I just feel like, well, I'm like a spiritual person, so I just feel like everything happens for a reason, and I
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we're being used for a purpose, and I just felt like this was my purpose to help other people. So when I finally got to the emergency room, I see this big sign like, oh, skin, if you have a skin condition, there's like a skin trial. Come join us, any rare conditions. I'm like, okay. At this point, I was like done with it. I was like, this is my new life. I'm gonna deal with it. So when I first seen the sign, I ignored the sign. I'm like, don't know why they got time for that. I'm not gonna put myself in that again where you get hope and it's like it's taken right away from you. So I'm not gonna call. I'm not. The second day I came, that sign is like now from the side of the emergency room, it's like right in the front now. So I'm like, okay, why is this sign? Like every time I come in, the sign is getting closer and closer. I'm like, okay, forget it. So the dermatologist did let you go walk. You can actually walk to the dermatologist's office. So I end up going, they end up doing a biopsy. So they do the biopsy. Mind you, when they do a biopsy, guys, so they're injecting it, okay, with like topical like anesthesia, okay, so you don't feel it, and then they literally dig the whole nodule out for testing.
No.
So they go in and take the whole bump out. So now you're left with like a hole in your skin. So
No.
I believe like 2 weeks passed and they're like, hey, can you come into the office? So I'm like, I'm coming in the office in my head. There's a million things going on.
Of
Okay.
course, what is this thing? What are they going to tell me?
Are they going to tell me they can't find it? So I didn't go in happy. I didn't go in sad neither. I went in with a flat effect because I didn't really care anymore. It was like, it is what it is.
I'm
So when
sorry.
they finally told me PM, oh, I felt like a whole sense of relief because finally
Mhm.
get to like I didn't get diagnosed till like 4 years.
Oh my gosh. It was less than a year for me, and I
Literally,
thought I was going to fall apart. I can't
literally,
imagine 4 years.
it was 4 years. Okay, so when he said Prurigo Nodularis, I'm like, I don't even care how to pronounce it. I have a name now. Okay,
You have
so
a
while
name.
I'm talking, I'm like, can you tell me what it is? So he was explaining it to me what it is, and I'm like, okay, I don't even care what it is. Can you help me?
What can we do now?
What can we do? So
What
they
can we
started
do
like
now?
a clinical trial where they like try, I guess, like different medication, whether it was a medication or placebo, to see how to help. And from there, I slowly felt like Darvisha coming back.
Yeah.
It was just
Back
a
to who you are.
relief. And I always tell people like, when it's stormy, it's not gonna rain for long. The sun
Right.
has to come back out. And for me, like, oh my gosh, from there,
What
I
a
was that
story.
girl again. Like I was me.
And
So
this is so like your story is beyond touching, and it's so much the reason why I do things like this. That's exactly why. Because I know just for the year that it took for me to get diagnosed, and you're telling me 4 years for you, the mental anguish that you must have been going through, still not knowing what's wrong with you for 4 years. This is why I do this. This is why I want to be so much closer to our community. I want to share with people what this feels like. There are so many degrees of it. Like I look at you, you are gorgeous. I look at you and I think about the fact that you did say you had some on your face. Look at you today. Look at you right now. I've been blessed enough where there's always someone worse off than you. It never appeared on my face. I'm lucky, and there are people walking around with it all over their face, all over their neck, all over their arms and hands. You dealt with that. You know what I mean? And I feel uncomfortable with what I deal with. So imagine the degrees that other people are feeling, how it makes them feel. So if there's anything that my story can share, I know you've shared your story multitudes of times, and I commend you for that because it's not always easy to be this transparent and to let people know how it makes us feel. But if I can help one person who's dealing with PN, or I can share my story enough with a medical professional so they know how to diagnose it better, they know how to handle and care for their patients better, they know to ask more questions about itching, to help people kind of work through. Make sure you're checking in on them mentally. How you feeling today? What's going on? How you good? These are all important parts of the medical examination when you're looking at these nodules because it's so much more than just the scars. It's
yeah.
the mental scars that you can hold on to for a lot longer than these physical scars. And it's so important that we keep getting the word out about it.
Yeah, we have to, because and even the case of like some dermatologists, try to understand your patients when they come to you and they tell you, because pain, you can't measure pain. You can't go through an MRI. You can't
Mhm.
do ET, you can't do an X-ray. You can't even do an EEG to literally put electrodes to check the brain
Right.
to tell you how much pain I am. So if I'm telling you I'm in pain, whether it's 1,000 out of 10, you need to believe your patient.
You need to figure out a solution.
I don't take drugs. You could do a urine analysis. You're not going to find anything in my urine. So if I'm telling you I'm in pain, I don't have no psych issues. You need to believe your patients.
Yeah. So important.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna get emotional.
We said a lot. We said a lot today.
I'm not gonna do it to me. But listen, first, I just want to say thank you both for being so transparent, and sharing your stories, your experiences on our platform. I'm very grateful for both of you, just for being strong Black women and strong Black women that have endured such a trial, and you coming out on top, like you're thriving. And so I just want to say I appreciate you both. We're going to open up for questions in just a moment. I just have a couple of questions. So if you have questions, those who are watching, drop your questions in the chat. Um, but I just wanted to one just say, like, what tips or advice would you give to someone that may be experiencing those type of symptoms? Um, they may be experiencing those type of symptoms or have PN. What type of advice would you give them? And then I just have one more question, and then we're going to
Mhm.
go to Q&A.
Okay. You want to go first, Tamara?
Yeah, I would just definitely say I know that we've both, myself and Dorisha, have had different experiences with our dermatologists, but do not stop telling them. Keep telling them what you're dealing with. Share that you think it may be PN. I know doctors don't like for folks to self-diagnose themselves, but PN is not it's getting more traction now than I know that it was when Dorisha was first diagnosed. But it's still a rare disease. It's still a rare skin condition. So make sure you are constantly telling them, take a look at this. Please pay attention to my itch. Do not stop telling your doctors, even if they're not giving you as much attention as you need. Go to another one. If Derisha said after the first doctor, I'm not going to see any more doctors, she never would have gotten to today. She went to another doctor and another doctor and another doctor. Never stop advocating for yourself. That's probably the best advice I can give anyone. Hopefully, you're lucky enough to get with dermatologists who are like, we're going to figure this out. And I was lucky enough to have that. That's not everybody's situation. So if you're not getting the care or the answers you need, keep pushing. Go get a second opinion, a third, fourth, fifth, until someone figures out what's going on with you. And take a mental health check every now and then. Make sure you have a good support system behind you because you're going to need it. If you have it, you're going to need it.
I agree.
Mhm.
Everything you said, I agree, and I second that. I would also want to say, when you're dealing with this, don't lose hope, because just imagine if I didn't call, I would not be where I'm at today. And let's just say you can't find a dermatologist in your area. So what if this is your new norm? Okay.
Yep.
You have to be your own individual. You have to be your own person somehow. Whether this is gonna make you stand out, okay, like even if it causes attraction, I wish I was strong enough in the past, instead of hiding, to embrace the new me, to embrace my skin. Because at the end of the day, I can't control it. So why allow something to take over my life? Why allow it? So I just want to say, like, don't ever lose hope. Don't fall into like the trap of depressions, because you will lose out on so much. I dropped out of nursing school. I would have been far, because my goal is like to be a CRNA. So because I like dropped out of school because of it, like I was pushed back, you know.
Right.
And you shouldn't let something like your skin take so much control over your life. Yeah, it's hard, but we just have to, stay positive and like keep pushing, keep going. Whether it's not a skin condition, whether it's a health condition, whether whatever
Anyone.
it is, keep going. Just keep going. I don't care if you lose your feet, bilateral legs, you're gonna get on a wheelchair and keep going. Like, just keep going. That would be my advice. Just keep going.
Yeah.
Listen, you have encouraged me. If you have not encouraged anyone else, it was me. So I'm going to keep
100%.
going.
Keep
um,
pushing.
thank you. So, in my last question, I just wanted to know, like, what are both of your perceptions on clinical research? Have you ever been offered the opportunity to participate? Would you ever participate? What are your perceptions around clinical research?
Okay, I'll go. I was actually a part of a clinical trial that was life changing for me. Um, I can't give the name of it because it's still not on the market yet, but um, it when I say life changing, um, it was supposed to work on the blemishes as well as the itch. The blemishes have gotten a little better, but the itch is night and day.
Mhm.
And that to me was a bigger deal because the blemishes, I can cover up blemishes. I can't stop scratching. If my brain, like you said, if my brain says scratch your skin off, that's what my body's going to want to do. So when I did get on the clinical trial, it was I think it was instantaneous. I truly believe myself that the first 3 months was an 11-month, which is ironic because it took 11 months for diagnosis, but it was an 11-month trial, and I believe that first 3 months, you either get the placebo or you get the real medicine. I think I got the real medicine. There was an instantaneous change in my body, an instantaneous change in the amount of itching and the amount of scratching that I exhibited. And it just got better and better and better. An additional part of the trial was you had a little app that you had to go to each day to talk about your pain level and your itch level. And that was great because what I would use that information for was I would say, okay, did I eat something different? Did I do something different? Because today I was very itchy. With the most part, I can just literally see it gradually just declining. So it was really great. I thought it was a good idea for me to be a part of the trial. Also, not only just for the relief that I got out of it, but I also thought it was a good reason to be a part of the trial because I'm Black. And I think we need the input. We need the input on how it's affecting Black people. So having that kind of demographic for them to work with only helps benefit because as Black people, we're so much more prone to certain diseases and ailments than other demographics. So I thought it was important for me to be a part of it. And not only am I glad that I did it for our community, I'm glad I did it because I definitely got some relief. So
I'm
yeah,
glad
I'm a proponent. I'm a an advocate for clinical trial. Do your research because I did too before I did it. But
okay.
I'm an advocate for that as long as you make sure you do your research.
That's good. Thank you for sharing, Dorisha.
Mhm.
I am too. I would say go for it, especially like because sometimes doing the research on the clinical trial, there's not really much you can find. So once you get to them, ask them like, okay, what are the side effects? Sometimes they don't, even though they don't know, but it's like, what
Right.
do you lose? You know, even if it don't help, even if it do it, just try it, give it a try because what you gonna do? You're not losing. Like just go for it, and stay positive because the more you think negative, you're remember the power of the tongue is powerful. So if you speak negativity in it, you're gonna bring negativity in it. If you speak positivity to it, you're gonna bring positivity. So when I actually started my clinical trial and I was like, okay, this is gonna work. Like I was like, I was happy
You
to.
have to.
I was happy to leave the house, and like even now, like if they ask me, hey, you want to come on another clinical trial? Yeah, like I'm going, like I'm gonna go, because it's like, why not? Give it a try.
Yeah. And you
I'm
have to
with you.
also, like we've said throughout this entire webinar, you it's hard. It's better, it's easier said than done. But as much as you can, you have to believe it will
Yeah.
be better. You
Mm,
have to believe it'll be better. Even if there are times you're like, I'm dealing with this bull and things are not getting better. If you stay in that negative space, your body will react to it and you won't be better. So you have to go in with the highest degree of positivity as you can. And it's going to be a journey. It may not be immediate, it may take months, it may take years, but you have to believe that you are doing the best that you can to get the results that you want. I'm serious. I know it sounds very cliche. Put that positive energy out there because
Yeah.
it will make all the difference, not only in your body's reaction to it, but also your peace of mind and how you're able to ebb and flow through each day with being in that space. It's going to make a difference in your recovery. That's just how I feel 100%.
No, it is 100% because even I'm sorry, Rose. I just wanted to
No,
input.
no, no, no. You good? Because I'm listening to both of y'all. I love, love, love the feedback, and I just want to say. So, what would you say to people, especially Black people that are hesitant, right, or fearful? I've heard people say, "Oh, they're not experimenting on me," stuff like that. Like, what would you say to people that have fear? And I think you've already
Ooh,
said it when you say go into it with a positive mindset. But do you have any other advice for people that are afraid or uncertain?
You want to go first, or
no,
okay?
no, you can go.
Honestly, sometimes you have to. Fear is okay. It's okay to be scared sometimes.
Natural.
The more you're scared, because sometimes that fear is put into you because it's like greatness is about to come. Okay. So it's okay to walk into something being scared. The more you're scared, you let that take over and encourage you to keep going. Okay. So it's okay to be scared. I mean, it's new. It's like you don't know what they're injecting into you. You don't know
Right.
what's about to happen. I get it. Okay. I do get it. But you just have to put in your mind and be open to, I need something that's going to help me. And I'm going to do whatever it is to bring the person I was back.
Yeah,
Okay.
I would agree. And I would add to everything she just said, plus one for sure. But like, we are always in constant fear of things. And that is a natural thing. But I agree. We have to believe as best as we can. And like I said, when I say the research, make sure you're dealing with a reputable medical organization, things like that. Because when you do a trial, you really don't know everything that's in it. They tell you what's in it, but you don't know what those medical terms are. You don't know what it is. But if you never try, how are you going to know? If you don't try, how are you going to know? And you may try something and it may not work out, but that's okay because you know what? There are 100 other things that we can figure out. But never stop believing that you are worth it. You
Yeah.
are worth doing everything you can to be the best you that you can be, no matter what your ailment is. It doesn't have to be PN, it could be
Mhm.
anything. Why do you think you're not worth it? As much as you may be afraid, and we all are, because I was scared many, many moments throughout this whole journey. But why are you not worth it? Why would you not do that for yourself? Because you know what you would do? You would push your family member, your mama, your daddy, and everybody else to do it. Why
Right.
wouldn't you do it for you?
Yep.
No,
Why
that's
would
good.
you do it for you?
That's good.
You have to believe you're worth it because you are. Because you are.
I love it. I'm gonna sleep good tonight after talking. Let me tell you. I feel like I've been to church a little bit. So listen, we have two questions that we have from the the community. Uh, Let me see. Sorry, I'm trying to get my screen up.
Oh yeah, I can see it.
Okay, there we go.
Okay.
So are we, as we are listening to your stories, especially around diagnosis, what do you think are things that's needed to transform how dermatologists treat prurigo nodularis? And that's coming from Candace.
Great question, Candace. Um, I actually spoke at one of the American associations for dermatology, and that was a question that they posed. And the first thing that came to mind was concentrate on not just what the patient looks like, but what the patient is telling you. I think some of the dermatologists that I spoke with, the first few, until I got to my diagnosis doctor, they weren't paying attention to the fact that I'm scratching like crazy. I think Derisha said it when she was like, "Stop." The doctor said, "Stop scratching." How am I supposed to do that when the itch is relentless? So I think what was happening at the beginning, they were concentrating so much on just the nodules on my body. They weren't paying attention to the fact that the itch was so relentless. It was interfering with my day to day. So one of the things I did, and this is just an opinion I have, and this could work for any ailment anyone's going through. Journal what you're dealing with. Because when you go into that doctor's office, you can very clearly say, you don't have to try to remember. I'm getting older. I forget everything. So I write everything down. Try to remember what this made you feel like, how the scratch, where's the itching concentrated, where is it taking place, how are the nodules morphing, were they scabby at this time. As much information as you can compile, and I write it right in my little Apple Notes. Anywhere you can write it so that when you walk into that doctor's office, they have as much information as possible to help you deal with what you're dealing with. So that's something that I would say in terms of how they can treat it. Because if you give them all the information that they need, they can get your diagnosis quicker, then they can figure out how to treat it. So that's the biggest thing that I would probably say is a good idea for you to make sure you do when you're sharing your information with the doctor, with your dermatologist.
I totally agree. Another thing I would say, directed mostly to dermatologists, MDs, whoever you are, understand your patient. When you come in, I don't know if you notice, always pay attention when you go to the hospital. They'll come in, patient name, date of birth. Don't just look at it as my clipboard. Come in, find out who am I.
Who
Don't
I am. Mm-hmm.
go to the nurse and ask the nurse, okay, what did she? I want you to come in and have a conversation with me. Get to know me for me, hear what I've been dealing with. Don't just like look at it, read it. Okay, she said itching. No, come and have a seat. Darisha, what have you been experiencing? Open the room so I can talk to you, because especially when we're diagnosed with something we don't know, sometimes we're a little bottled in and we don't want to express how we feel. We don't want to express what we're dealing with. But physicians need to come in and understand your patient, not just for patient ID. Come in and figure out, who am I? What am I dealing with? Actually have a conversation with me. Don't look at me as just a diagnosis that you want to diagnose. Figure out what's around my condition. I can say for dermatologists, and yeah.
Okay. What we have? What's the next question? Were your family and friends supportive of your decisions to participate?
Yeah.
Oh, my grandma, because she's older,
She old school.
and
Grandma said, "Hold on now."
she is, I come from, because I'm Haitian. That's my culture back. She was like, oh, like she was not for it. She was like, well, could they, like basically say you're gonna let them kill you. I'm like, oh my god. So it's just like, that's why I said knowledge, be teachable. The smartest person in the room is not always the smartest. Okay, sometimes you have to allow room to learn different things. So I would be like, come on, like relax, okay,
Mm,
but other than that, like my mom, very supportive. My sister, they just wanted, just imagine, they're literally at night. We're up till like 4 a.m. itching. So my mom was for anything that can help. Anything. And sometimes not everybody have that support system. And that goes back to the
yeah.
just let your patients know that you're here for them whenever they need to. Like now they even have like my chart where you can physically like chat with your dermatologist, talk
Yeah.
to your doctors, So even if you don't hear from your patient, send them a message like, hey, how you doing? So I just think it's just that support, that encouragement everybody needs. sometimes.
Right.
So, but yeah, I had like my family was very supportive.
Yeah, they were supportive after I made the decision. I didn't really involve anybody else's thoughts on it, to be very honest with you. But once
Yeah.
I made the decision, it was nothing but support, and they would check in, so that was good.
Awesome. Awesome. Wow. This has been very informative. I myself have learned a lot. I have learned a lot. Thank you both so much for your time, for everything, your energy, your stories, your lived experience, for sharing it with the community. It looks like we've answered all the questions. This has been a marvelous, marvelous time. Listen, if you're joining and you're not a part of the Now Included community, I'll share the link to the community. You can join the community and get to know these beautiful ladies, all the people in the community that are there. Um, and we're all here just to support each other, right? And learn from each other. So thank you again so much. Um, and listen, I'll see you all in the community. It's been a great one.
Thanks for having us. This has been amazing. Thanks.
Until next time.
Peace. Okay, let me stop.
I love it. It's Teresa.